G'day from Australia. This is Ardy McDowell from ontoaustralia.com, and I help international students like you to study in Australia and to graduate and to do it in an easy way. In this video, I want to talk to you about a topic that most people will not talk about, and your education agent will probably not talk much about it, and the school that you go to will probably not talk much about it. Making this common mistake when you first arrive in Australia will be dangerous and even make you want to go back home to your home country. And it is a mistake that many international students have experienced. It's not something that I'm proud of about Australia, but it's something that you need to know, and you will experience it probably in any country, in America or United Kingdom. This video will show you the truth about finding your first accommodation in your first few weeks in Australia. Some international students have had trouble settling into a new life when they get here. This can lead to bad health and bad study results. At a time when you may be experiencing homesickness and you may be missing your family and parents. So this video will show you a method. It's a method that you can use to avoid getting bad accommodation in your first weeks after arriving in Australia. This is the easiest way to find safe accommodation, to avoid deceit and lies by the landlord, to avoid overcrowding in your accommodation, to avoid overcharging, to avoid poor living conditions, to avoid accommodation that is unsafe to live in, to avoid paying in advance for accommodation that doesn't even exist, to avoid harassment, to avoid sudden increases in your rent, and many others. So what is the problem? The problem is choosing the wrong type of accommodation in your first few weeks after arriving in Australia. It is one of the biggest issues that international students face when they start their studies, and it could lead to poor health and unsatisfactory study results due to mental health problems and worrying too much. The solution is to use managed hosted accommodation for at least the first 4 weeks of your stay in Australia. What is managed hosted accommodation? Basically, it's a homestay. Usually you will be staying in a house with a family, and they will help you to organize all of your issues. Recently in Australia, at the start of the year 2020, there is a new initiative, a program called the Australian Homestay Network, and they have a program called Start With Us, and they are trying to address this problem for international students and their accommodation needs. There are many other homestay networks that you can use. The problem is that people are organizing their first accommodation as share housing. This means that there is a landlord who doesn't live in the house, and the people that live in the house are all students. The house might have 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, and you will rent a bedroom for yourself. This can be safe if your school organizes the accommodation for you for share housing, but if you do it yourself, you could have problems. It can be more dangerous and you can be exploited, meaning you can be cheated, if you use social media like Facebook to find the accommodation, or if you use Australian websites like Gumtree and flatmates.com.au. And most students are having problems if they try to find this accommodation without assistance from their school, from their university or their college. If they try and do it by themselves, then they can fall into this danger. You may experience deceit, meaning people will lie to you about the accommodation, about the payments, and about the conditions. You may experience overcrowding, meaning that they are putting too many people into the house. They might be putting extra people into rooms. They might be putting extra people into the living rooms and the lounge rooms. They might be putting extra people outside even. You could experience overcharging, so the landlord can be asking for more than what is expected or more than what was agreed upon. You might be harassed into paying money up front, and large amounts of money up front, which are unacceptable. You could be made to live in poor living conditions. For example, they do not repair the parts of the house, they do not repair the water, or maybe they do not repair the toilet, or maybe there is some damage to the house which they don't repair, like a broken window or a broken door. You may be forced to live in accommodation that is unsafe. There might be no proper security. It might be a dangerous neighborhood. There might be repairs that need to be made, for example, some electrical problems with the house. You might get tricked into paying for accommodation that does not even exist. This happens if you use a website like Gumtree or flatmates.com.au or Facebook. You will find people on those platforms that are only doing it to try and scam and try and lie and try and cheat the international students. And the easiest ones to cheat are the ones that have arrived, freshly arrived. They have recently arrived, and they don't know. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to expect, so these are the easiest target. You might experience harassment by the landlord. They might be unfairly asking for money or asking you to do things. You could get harassment from other tenants, other students living in the same house. So it's not the safest place to be, especially if it's your first week in Australia. You may experience them moving extra people into your accommodation without your permission. And you may experience sudden increases in rent, the amount you pay for rent in the middle of the rent period. This is after you already agreed to a certain amount, and then in the middle of the rent period, they will increase it, otherwise you have to leave. This is not fair. And the last point I want to cover is that you may experience unfair eviction, meaning that they will ask you to leave the accommodation after you've already signed a contract, for example, a contract for 4 weeks. And during that 4 weeks, they ask you to leave for some reason, without any reason for you to leave. So you can see all of these problems are real dangers, and the solution is to use a homestay for at least the first 4 weeks of your stay in Australia. It's a safer environment. The people that you are living with will try to help you. They won't try to rip you off, because if they do start ripping people off and cheating people, then they will have a poor rating with the homestay network, and they will not get any more students to stay with them. So they will try to help you because they want to get a better rating. If you want some further reading on this issue, you can check out this article. It's a news article about accommodation for international students. And there is also this survey report, which is a survey of international students and their experience with accommodation in Australia. So back to the solution and the method that we recommend you to use. You should use managed hosted accommodation, and you should try to find a homestay network. These networks have approved Australian households that they list that you can use. Earlier I mentioned about a new initiative and program that is started in Australia at the start of the year 2020. It's called the Homestay Network. This is the link, you can check them out, and there are many others that you can use too. Best thing to do would be to ask your school which homestay network they recommend. So we recommend that you do this for your first 4 weeks in Australia. And this will help you with your transition into your new life, your new life as a student in Australia. So what will the homestay family do for you? They will help you to understand your new surroundings. And they will do it in a safe environment. Their house is safe. And they will help you to find longer term accommodation. So you can do it in a relaxed way, and they will help you to find a good landlord and a place accommodation which has good students in it and good conditions. They will help you with the English language. They will help you to organize your banking. You can set up an Australian bank account. They will help you with transport. Either they will have their own transport which will help you get to school, or they will show you how to use public transport, or they will help you to buy a car or a bike. They will help you to understand the Australian culture, and what is a better way than by actually living with an Australian family to learn about the Australian culture. If you have any questions, you can ask them directly. And they will just give you general help about any individual problems that happen as they happen. The homestay network that we mentioned earlier is run alongside the American homestay network that is called My Stay International. Here's a link to the American website. These are some of the things that a homestay network promises for you. They promise you accountability, meaning there should be someone to blame if there's an issue or a problem. They promise integrity, meaning that they will not lie to you and they will tell the truth to you. They promise transparency, meaning everything will be out in the open for you to know. They promise personalized services, so you may have things that you need and they can help to organize these. They promise you safety, so you can live knowing that you will go home to a safe environment with no worries and no cares and no worries. And they offer you 24-hour, 7-day-a-week support. So if there are any problems, you can call them straight away and they can help you. So their whole focus is for the international student experience and making sure that they have a good experience. We hope this video has been beneficial for you. I hope it hasn't really scared you away from Australia, but this problem exists everywhere in the world. And if you use this method, then you will be safe. There are many international students that have not used this method, that have had a good experience. So I'm not saying that this problem happens to everyone, but this problem does happen to some people. So you have to be careful, and you should learn from other people's mistakes. Using a homestay network will cost a little bit more, but in the long run, it will be more beneficial for you. You will have less worries, less problems, and you will be able to fit in to your new life, and you'll be able to start your study in a good way. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below in the box. If you like the video, please hit like. You can subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. You can also check out our website at ontoaustralia.com. And until we meet again, bye.